The glass shattered against the marble floor, red wine spreading like blood across the white tiles of the penthouse suite. "You did what?" Amara Okonkwo's voice cracked as she stared at her husband Chidi and his mistress, her own sister, Ngozi, standing too close together near the balcony overlooking the glittering Lagos skyline. But it wasn't the affair that made her knees buckle. It was a document Chidi held in his trembling hand, the forged death certificate with her mother's name on it. Mama Adaeze, the woman who had built the Okonkwo textile empire from nothing, who had trusted her daughter and son-in-law with everything. "She's not even dead, is she?" Amara whispered, her stomach churning with a sickness that went beyond betrayal. Chidi's jaw tightened. Ngozi looked away, guilt flickering across her beautiful face before vanishing behind a mask of defiance. "Amara, you don't understand pressure." Chidi started. "Where's my mother?" The question hung in the air like a curse. Amara's hand shook as she grabbed her phone, but Chidi moved faster, snatching it from her grip. His eyes, once so loving, so tender, now held something cold and calculated. "Your mother is exactly where she needs to be," he said quietly. "And if you know what's good for you, you'll keep your mouth shut." Amara backed away, her designer heels crunching on broken glass. This couldn't be real. 6 months ago, they'd held a lavish funeral for Mama Adaeze at the Cathedral Church of Christ in Lagos. Hundreds had attended. Politicians, business moguls, society women in their finest asoebi. Amara had wept over an empty casket, never questioning, never doubting. Because why would she? Chidi was her husband of 12 years. Ngozi was her younger sister, her closest confidant. The nursing home in Abuja, Ngozi finally spoke, her voice small. "We told them she had no family. We've been paying them to keep her sedated, confused. She doesn't even remember her own name anymore." The room spun. Amara gripped the edge of the Italian leather sofa, fighting the urge to vomit. Her mother, the fierce, brilliant woman who had taught her to read balance sheets before she could ride a bicycle, was alive, drugged, imprisoned, while her own children had stolen her empire. The company transfers, Amara breathed, puzzle pieces clicking into horrifying place. The new board appointments, the offshore accounts. "You've been liquidating everything." Chidi smiled then, and Amara finally saw the monster she'd been sleeping beside for over a decade. 340 million naira so far, he said casually, as if discussing the weather. "Your mother was too old-fashioned, too slow. She would have run the business into the ground. We did what had to be done." "We?" Amara's voice rose to a shriek. "You and my sister?" Ngozi stepped forward, and now Amara saw it. The slight swell of her belly beneath her silk blouse. "For months, maybe 5. "Oh, God," Amara whispered. "Chidi loves me," Ngozi said, lifting her chin with an audacity that made Amara's blood boil. "He always has. You were just convenient. The eldest daughter. The one with the inheritance." The slap came before Amara could think, her palm connecting with Ngozi's cheek, with a sharp crack that echoed through the penthouse. But before she could move again, Chidi's hand was around her throat, shoving her against the wall. "You will stay quiet," he hissed, his breath hot against her face, "or your mother won't be the only Okonkwo woman who disappears." He released her, and Amara slid to the floor, gasping, her throat burning. Through tear-blurred vision, she watched them leave together, her husband and her sister, closing the bedroom door behind them with a soft, final click. Alone in the wreckage of her life, Amara's fingers found her phone where Chidi had dropped it. Her hand shook as she pulled up her contacts, scrolling past family, friends, business associates. Then she stopped. Inspector Mama Adaeze, her university roommate, now with the Nigerian Police Force Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. But before she could dial, her phone buzzed with an incoming email. The sender, mama2024@protonmail.com. The message contained only 5 words in an attachment. "I remember everything now, daughter." The video file showed a grainy image of her mother, thinner, grayer, but unmistakably alive and unmistakably awake, staring directly into the camera. Amara's grief transformed into something else, something sharp and burning and absolutely merciless. What would you do in Amara's position? Drop a like if you're hooked and comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This story is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what happens when a mother's ghost comes back to haunt the living. The WhatsApp call connected at 2:47 a.m. Funmi, I need you to listen very carefully, Amara whispered from the locked bathroom of the penthouse, the only place she knew had no cameras. My mother is alive. My husband and sister faked her death to steal her fortune. I have proof. Inspector Mama Adaeze's voice came through sharp and alert despite the hour. Amara, slow down. Your mother? But we attended the funeral. Empty casket. She's in a nursing home in Abuja. They've been drugging her for 6 months. Amara's voice cracked as she forwarded the email and video. I just received this from her. Somehow she got access to a phone or computer. She remembers. Funmi, she remembers everything they did to her. The silence on the other end stretched for 3 agonizing seconds. Don't do anything, Funmi finally said, her tone shifting into professional mode. Don't confront them again. Don't let them know you contacted me. Can you act normal for 48 hours? Normal? Amara let out a bitter laugh that bordered on hysteria. My sister's pregnant with my husband's child. They just threatened to kill me. How do I act normal? Because if you want justice, real justice, we need to do this right. Financial crimes, kidnapping, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. These charges stick only if we build an airtight case. Funmi paused. I'm activating a team tonight. We'll have surveillance on the nursing home by dawn. But Amara, I need you to be strong. Can you do that? Amara stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her mascara smeared, her expensive silk nightgown wrinkled, a red mark blooming on her throat where Chidi's fingers had been. She thought of her mother, Mama Adaeze, who had started with a single sewing machine in ABA and built an empire that employed 3,000 people, who had survived her husband's death, economic recessions, and countless attempts by men to steal her business, who had taught Amara that an Igbo woman bows to no one. I can do more than be strong, Amara said quietly. I can destroy them. The next morning, Amara emerged from the bedroom in a cream ochre dress and coral lipstick. Carrying a tray of plantain and eggs, she prepared herself. What would you do if you walked in on this level of betrayal? Hit like if you've ever had to fake a smile through heartbreak. And comment below where you're watching from. Lagos? Nairobi? New York? Let me know. Chidi looked up from his laptop, surprise flickering across his face. Ngozi, wearing one of Amara's silk robes, froze with a coffee cup halfway to her lips. Good morning, Amara said pleasantly, setting the tray on the dining table. I thought about what you said last night, about Mother being too old-fashioned for modern business. Chidi's eyes narrowed with suspicion. I want in. Amara continued, sitting down and crossing her legs elegantly. If we're doing this, if we're really restructuring the company, then I want an active role, no more being the decorative wife at board meetings. Ngozi recovered first, that familiar jealous glint sparking in her eyes. Chidi, she's playing us. Am I? Amara turned to her sister with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Or am I finally waking up to reality? You two clearly have a plan, a future, and I'm not stupid enough to think I can fight you both. She paused, letting the lies settle. So instead, I'd like to negotiate my piece of the empire. Surely there's enough for 3? She watched Chidi's mind work, saw the greed override the caution. He'd always underestimated her, mistaking her kindness for weakness. It was a mistake their mother never would have made. What exactly are you proposing? Chidi asked slowly. 50-50 split. We liquidate the remaining assets quietly, before any auditors get suspicious. Divide the proceeds between us. You two can have your happy ending, your baby, whatever life you want. I'll take my money and disappear. Clean break. And your mother? Ngozi pressed. Amara forced herself to meet her sister's eyes without flinching. She clearly can't manage her own affairs anymore. Perhaps permanent care is the most humane option. The words tasted like poison, but she saw Chidi's shoulders relax, saw Ngozi's suspicious expression soften into something like relief. I'll need to see the full accounting. Amara continued, pulling out her tablet. Every transfer, every offshore account. If we're partners now, I need transparency. Chidi exchanged a glance with Ngozi, then nodded. This afternoon, I'll have Barrister Okafor prepare everything. One more thing, Amara said, standing and smoothing her dress. I'd like to visit Mother, to say goodbye, properly this time. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. That's not necessary, Ngozi started. It's not negotiable, Amara interrupted, her voice still pleasant but laced with steel. If I'm going to live with this decision, I need closure. One visit. Supervise if you don't trust me, but I'm going to see my mother. She could see Chidi calculating risks, weighing options. Finally, he nodded. Tomorrow, I'll drive you myself. That afternoon, while Chidi met with her crooked lawyer, Amara slipped out to the Palms shopping mall in Lekki. She bought a new phone with cash, registered under a fake name. In the bathroom of a coffee shop, she found a second email from her mother's mysterious account. The nurse, Grace Okoro, night shift. She's helping me. She has a brother in the police. Be careful, daughter. They have people watching me. People listening. Trust no one at the facility. Amara's fingers flew across the screen, typing a response. Inspector Mama Adaeze, EFCC. She's my friend from university. Can Grace contact her brother? We need coordination. I'm coming tomorrow with Chidi. Be ready. The reply came within minutes. Grace says her brother works with Inspector Adaeze's unit. Small world, or God's plan. We will be ready. But Amara, there's something else you need to know about Chidi's plans. Something worse than you think. The insurance policy he took out on you 3 months ago. 500 million naira. I saw the documents when I was still lucid. Check the safe in his office. Code is your wedding date, but he doesn't know that I know. Amara's blood turned to ice. An insurance policy. On her life. They weren't just planning to steal her inheritance. They were planning to kill her and profit from it. She leaned against the bathroom stall, fighting down panic. Her phone buzzed with a text from Chidi. Where are you? We need to talk about the trip tomorrow. Come home. With shaking hands, Amara deleted the encrypted email app, destroyed the packaging from the burner phone, and walked out of the mall into the thick Lagos heat. She had less than 24 hours to save her mother, expose her husband's crimes, and stay alive. As she climbed into a taxi, another message appeared on her regular phone. From an unknown number. Your mother isn't the only one they've buried alive. Ask your husband about Chioma, his first wife, the one before you. The taxi driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Madam, you look like you've seen a ghost. You okay? Amara stared at the message, her mind reeling. First wife? Chidi had told her he'd never been married before, never even been engaged. Drop a like if you're as shocked as Amara right now. What secrets do you think Chidi is hiding? Comment your theories below and share this story with someone who loves a good revenge plot. Don't forget to subscribe. The penthouse felt like a cage when Amara returned. Chidi sat in his study, a glass of whiskey in hand, watching her with the patient intensity of a python waiting to strike. Ngozi had made herself comfortable on the leather sofa, her feet propped up on an ottoman, scrolling through her phone with the casual entitlement of someone who'd already won. You took a long time at the mall, Chidi said, his voice deceptively soft. Just shopping. Needed to clear my head, Amara replied, setting down shopping bags she deliberately filled with random purchases to sell a lie. And to think about our conversation this morning. And Ngozi didn't look up from her phone. And I meant what I said. I'm ready to cooperate. But first, Amara turned to Chidi, letting genuine confusion color her voice. I need you to be honest with me about something. Who is Chioma? The whiskey glass stopped halfway to Chidi's lips. Ngozi's head snapped up, her eyes wide with something that looked like fear. Where did you hear that name? Chidi's voice had gone dangerously quiet. Does it matter? Amara pressed, watching them both carefully. You told me I was your first wife. Your only wife. Was that another lie? The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Finally, Chidi set down his glass with deliberate care. Chioma was a mistake, he said flatly. We were married for 6 months, 15 years ago, before I met you. It didn't work out. Didn't work out? Amara echoed. Or did she die? Like my mother supposedly did. Ngozi stood abruptly. This is insane. Chidi, she's spiraling. As I teed down, Chidi barked, and Ngozi flinched, sinking back onto the sofa. In that moment, Amara saw the future her sister had chosen, a life of fear, controlled by a man who saw women as obstacles or assets, never as equals. Chidi turned back to Amara, his expression hardening. Chioma died in a car accident. It was investigated. It was ruled accidental. And it has nothing to do with our current situation. Then why did someone just send me a message suggesting otherwise? Amara pulled out her phone, showing him the text from the unknown number. She watched his face carefully, saw the micro-expression of panic before he controlled it, saw the way his hand tightened into a fist. Who sent that? He demanded. I don't know, but I think we have a problem. Amara pocketed her phone. If someone out there knows about Chioma, knows about what you did to my mother, then our entire plan is compromised. We can't just liquidate assets and disappear if there are people watching us, sending anonymous messages. It was a gamble, positioning herself as his co-conspirator rather than his victim. But she needed him off balance, needed him to believe she was truly on his side. Chidi paced the window, his jaw working. Barrister Okafor. He's the only other person who knew about Chioma's insurance payout. If he's getting greedy, trying to blackmail us, then we need to handle him before tomorrow, Amara interrupted, her heart hammering. Before we go to Abuja, we can't have loose ends. Ngozi was watching her now with undisguised suspicion. Since when are you so good at criminal strategy, sister? Since I realized I married into it. Amara shot back. Now are we going to secure our position, or are we going to let some corrupt lawyer destroy everything? Chidi studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're right. Ngozi, call Okafor. Tell him we need to meet tonight, somewhere private. Chidi, Ngozi protested. Do it. At 8 p.m., they drove to Okafor's office in Victoria Island, a modest building tucked between gleaming bank headquarters. The lawyer was waiting, a thin man in his 60s with nervous hands and calculating eyes. This is highly irregular, Okafor said as they entered his office. Meeting at this hour, all three of you together. I thought we agreed to keep our interactions separate, minimal. Plans change, Chidi interrupted. Amara is now a full partner in our arrangement. She needs to see all the documentation, everything. Okafor's eyes flickered to Amara with something like pity. Or was it guilt? Mrs. Okonkwo, he said carefully. Are you certain you want to proceed down this path? Once you cross certain lines, there's no going back. I'm already across those lines, Amara said, injecting weariness into her voice. My mother is gone. My marriage is over. All I have left is making sure I'm financially secure. So yes, Barrister Okafor, I want to see everything, starting with the insurance policy on my life. The room went absolutely still. Okafor's face drained the color. Ngozi made a small, strangled sound. And Chidi smiled. Clever girl, he said softly. When did you find out? Does it matter? Amara kept her voice steady even as her pulse thundered in her ears. The question is, what happens now? You need me alive to access my mother's remaining assets, the ones in my name, the ones that require my signature. Kill me, and everything goes to probate, gets frozen by the courts, investigated by auditors. She was bluffing. She had no idea if that was true, but she needed them to believe she had leverage. Chidi circled her slowly, like a shark. You're not as stupid as I thought. I never was. You just wanted to believe I was. So what do you propose? His voice was almost admiring now. A Mexican standoff? We all keep each other's secrets, split the money, and pray no one talks. I propose, Amara said, her throat dry, that we finish what we started. Tomorrow we go to Abuja. We visit my mother. We make sure she's properly cared for. We finalize the asset transfers. and then we each take our share and disappear to different continents. No contact, no reunions, no loose ends. And Barrister Okafor? Ngozi asked, her voice small. Amara turned to the lawyer, who had gone very pale. Barrister Okafor takes his fee, a generous one, signs a non-disclosure agreement, and retires somewhere very far away. Perhaps Dubai? I hear it's lovely for people who want to avoid extradition. Okafor swallowed hard. This is madness. All of you. This will end in everyone getting what they want, Chidi interrupted. Or in everyone going to prison. Your choice, Okafor. Are you in, or do you need to become another loose end? The threat hung in the air like smoke. Okafor looked at each of them in turn, then sighed heavily. I'll prepare the final documents. Everything will be ready for your signatures when you return from Abuja. He pulled out a folder, his hand shaking. But Mrs. Okonkwo, you should know, your husband has been very thorough. There are contingencies, safety measures. If anything happens to him, certain information goes to certain people, including about your own role in recent decisions. It was a lie. Amara knew. She'd made no decisions, committed no crimes. But she saw Chidi's strategy, create enough ambiguity that she couldn't expose him without risking herself. Then we all have incentive to keep each other safe, Amara said coldly. How convenient. They left Okafor's office just before midnight. In the car, Ngozi finally broke. I don't trust her, she hissed at Chidi. She's too calm, too controlled. This isn't the Amara I know. People change when you threaten their survival. Chidi replied, his eyes meeting Amara's in the rearview mirror. Isn't that right, my dear? People show who they really are, Amara corrected softly. When they arrived back at the penthouse, Amara excused herself to bed, claiming exhaustion. But as soon as she heard Chidi and Ngozi arguing in hushed tones in the study, she pulled out her burner phone. A new message waited from her mother's account. Grace says the police are in position. Inspector Adebayo has a team ready. But Amara, be careful tomorrow. Chidi told the facility director that if anyone tries to remove me, I should be given a fatal dose of sedatives. He signed medical directives. Forge my signature. If you come with police, they'll kill me before you get through the door. We need another plan. Amara's hand shook as she typed back, What do we do? The response came after a long, agonizing minute. You have to come alone. Really alone. Make them believe you're there to finish what they started. And then, daughter, you have to be ready to do something terrible to save us both. Before Amara could respond, her door burst open. Chidi stood in the doorway, his face twisted with rage, holding her regular phone, the one she'd stupidly left charging on the nightstand. Inspector Fumi Adebayo called you 17 times today, he said, each word precise and deadly. Want to explain why the EFCC is so interested in talking to you. Oh no, what's going to happen to Amara now? Smash that like button if you're on the edge of your seat. Comment below, Team Amara or Team Justice. And subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter, because this story is about to get wild. Amara's mind raced through a dozen lies before settling on the one that might save her life. Because I called her first, she said, meeting Chidi's fury would manufacture calm. Yesterday, after you threatened me, Chidi stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The click of the lock was the most terrifying sound Amara had ever heard. Explain. Now. I panicked, Amara said, letting her voice crack just enough. You had your hands around my throat, Chidi. You threatened to make me disappear like my mother. So yes, I called Funmi. I told her I was scared, that my marriage was falling apart, that I needed legal advice about protecting my assets in divorce. And she called 17 times because she's my friend and she's worried about me. Amara stood, letting genuine anger seep into her voice. What was I supposed to do? Just accept that my husband and sister might kill me without any backup plan? You have insurance policies and lawyers and contingencies. Am I not allowed to protect myself? The logic was sound enough to give Chidi pause. Amara pressed her advantage. I didn't tell her about Mother. I didn't mention the fraud or the money. I just said I needed to understand my legal rights. She moved closer to him, dangerous as it was. But now she's calling repeatedly because I haven't answered, which looks suspicious. So we have two choices. I call her back and maintain the divorce story, or we let her keep calling until she decides to show up here with a warrant. Chidi's jaw worked. Behind him, Ngozi appeared in the doorway, her pregnant belly a reminder of everything that had been stolen. Call her, Chidi decided, on speaker, right now, and if you say one wrong word. I know, Amara interrupted. I'm not suicidal, Chidi. I want to survive this as much as you do. With shaking hands, she dialed Funmi's number. It rang twice before a friend's worried voice filled the room. Amara, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all day. Are you okay? Are you safe? I'm fine, Funmi, Amara said, hyper-aware of Chidi's eyes on her. I'm sorry I didn't call back. It's been complicated. Have you thought more about what we discussed? About getting you somewhere safe while you file for divorce? I meant it when I said I have resources. I appreciate that. Amara cut her off gently. But Chidi and I have been talking. We're going to try to work things out. Go to counseling, maybe take some time away together. Actually, we're driving to Abuja tomorrow. A little trip to reconnect. The silence on the other end lasted a beat too long. Funmi was smart enough to read between the lines. But would she play along? That's good. Funmi said carefully. Marriage is worth fighting for. But Amara, promise me, if you need anything at all, you'll call me. Day or night. I'm here for you. I promise. Thank you for being such a good friend. Always. And Amara, be careful on the roads. Abuja Highway can be dangerous. Make sure someone knows your route, your timing, just in case. I will. Good night, Funmi. Amara ended the call and looked up at Chidi. Satisfied, he studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Get some sleep? We leave at dawn. And Amara, don't make me regret trusting you. After he left, locking the door from the outside, Amara sat in the darkness and let herself shake. The burner phone was hidden in the bathroom ceiling, behind a loose panel. She couldn't risk retrieving it now, not with him alert and suspicious. But she'd heard the message in Funmi's words. Make sure someone knows your route, your timing. The police would be tracking them, following them to Abuja. All Amara had to do was stay alive until then. Dawn came too quickly. They loaded into Chidi's black Mercedes SUV. Amara in the back, Ngozi in the passenger seat, Chidi driving. The 6-hour journey to Abuja stretched ahead like a prison sentence. As they pulled onto the Abuja-Lagos expressway, Amara watched the sprawling chaos of Lagos give way to smaller towns and villages. Roadside markets with women selling yams and plantains. Churches with hand-painted signs promising miracles. Billboards advertising everything from beer to political candidates. Normal life. The life that had nothing to do with murder and betrayal and stolen fortunes. Tell me about Chioma, Amara said suddenly, breaking the tense silence. Ngozi tensed. Chidi's eyes met hers in the rear-view mirror. Why are you so obsessed with her? He asked. Because if I'm going to be complicit in your crimes, I need to know what kind of man I'm dealing with. Did you kill your first wife, Chidi? The car swerved slightly before he corrected. It was an accident. Accidents don't require insurance fraud and covered-up investigations. You don't know what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. Amara demanded. We have 6 hours. Nothing but time. Ngozi turned to look at her sister, and for the first time, Amara saw fear beneath the defiance. Amara, maybe we should just... Chioma was pregnant. Chidi said flatly, cutting off Ngozi. 8 months. We were fighting about money. She wanted to keep working after the baby came. Wanted her own career. I told her a wife's place was at home. She disagreed. Loudly. Often. Amara's blood ran cold. What did you do? I didn't do anything, Chidi said, but his knuckles had gone white on the steering wheel. She was driving angry, not paying attention. The brakes failed on a hill in Enugu. The car went into a ravine. She died instantly. The baby, too. An insurance payout. 12 million naira. Enough to start investing. Enough to catch your mother's attention at that business conference in Abuja. He laughed bitterly. Mama Adaeze loved that I was an ambitious young entrepreneur. Never asked too many questions about where my seed money came from. Amara felt sick. Her mother, brilliant, careful Mama Adaeze, had been deceived by a murderer with a good suit and a convincing smile. The brakes didn't just fail, Amara said quietly. You cut them? I never said that. You didn't have to. They drove in heavy silence for another hour, passing through then Benin City. Amara watched the landscape change, calculating distances, memorizing landmarks. If she needed to run, she needed to know where she was. Just past the Okene Junction, Chidi pulled into a petrol station. Bathroom break, he announced. Amara, you come with me. Ngozi, stay in the car. Amara's instinct screamed danger, but she had no choice. She followed Chidi past the pumps, past the small shops selling drinks and snacks, to the grimy bathrooms at the back of the station. He grabbed her arm before she could enter the women's room, shoving her against the concrete wall. I know what you're doing, he hissed, his face inches from hers. I know you're playing some kind of game. So let me make this crystal clear. When we get to that nursing home, you're going to do exactly what I tell you. You're going to tell your mother goodbye. You're going to watch as we increase her medication. And you're going to sign the final transfer documents giving me complete control of the Okonkwo empire. And if I refuse? Chidi pulled out his phone, showing her a video. It took Amara a moment to recognize the grainy footage. It was her in Okafor's office last night, saying, "We finish what we started. We visit my mother. We make sure she's properly cared for." Edited, taken out of context, but damning enough. I have lawyers ready to release this to every news station in Nigeria, Chidi said. By tomorrow, you'll be the monster who conspired to kill her own mother for money. Your reputation, your future, everything destroyed. Unless you cooperate. Amara stared at him. This man she once loved, and felt something inside her turn to ice. You've thought of everything, she said softly. I always do. He released her, stepping back. Now go use the bathroom. We have 2 more hours of driving. Inside the filthy bathroom, Amara locked the stall and let herself breathe. Her burner phone was back at the penthouse. She had no way to contact Funmi, no way to warn anyone about Chidi's plan. She was alone. Then she noticed a window, small, high, probably painted shut. But maybe, just maybe, the bathroom door burst open. Ngozi's voice called out, syrupy, sweet, and poisonous. Amara, don't take too long. Chidi's getting impatient. Amara flushed the toilet, washed her hands, and walked out. Ngozi stood blocking the exit, one hand resting on her pregnant belly. You think you're so smart, Ngozi said quietly. Always were. The perfect daughter. The one who got everything. I got Chidi, Amara replied. That doesn't feel like much of a prize anymore. Ngozi's slap came fast and hard, snapping Amara's head to side. You don't deserve any of it. Not the company, not the respect, not the life. You're just lucky, but luck runs out. Amara touched her stinging cheek and smiled coldly. So does sisterhood. When Chidi gets tired of you, and you'll understand what I already know. He doesn't love anyone but himself. That baby you're carrying? Just another tool. Another insurance policy. She watched the doubt flicker across Ngozi's face before walking past her back to the car. They drove in utter silence through Lokoja, across the Niger Bridge, past the rolling hills approaching Abuja. And with every mile, Amara felt her options narrowing to a single, impossible choice. This story is getting intense. Hit that like button if you're hooked. What do you think Amara should do? Cooperate or fight back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And share this with your friends who love powerful revenge stories. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. The Serenity Vale nursing home sat on the outskirts of Abuja, hidden behind high walls and manicured gardens that promised peace, but delivered something far more sinister. Amara's legs felt like lead as she walked through the sterile corridors, flanked by Chidi on one side and Ngozi on the other. The director, Dr. Emeka Nwosu, led them with the practiced smile of a man who'd learned not to ask questions. Mrs. Adeeze has been quite peaceful lately, Dr. Nwosu said as they approached room 217. The new medication regimen has really helped with her confusion. I'm sure it has, Chidi said smoothly, his hand tight on Amara's elbow. The door opened, and Amara's breath caught in her throat. Her mother sat in a wheelchair by the window, staring out at nothing. Mama Adaeze, once a force of nature in her bold Ankara prints and perfectly tied Gelly head wraps, now looked like a shadow. Her hair, once meticulously maintained, hung in thin gray strands. Her famous sharp eyes were clouded, distant. But when those eyes turned to the doorway and found Amara, something flickered, something alive. "Mama," Amara whispered, pulling free from Chidi and rushing to kneel beside the wheelchair. Up close, she could see the clarity fighting through the drug-induced haze, could see her mother struggling to stay present, stay focused. "My daughter." Mama D's voice came out scratchy, barely used. "You came. I'm so sorry, Mama. I didn't know." "Mrs. Okonkwo," Dr. Nwosu interrupted. "Perhaps we should let Mrs. Adeeze rest. These visits can be quite taxing for patients in her condition. Give us 5 minutes," Chidi said firmly. "Amara needs closure." "We all do." Dr. Nwosu hesitated, then nodded and left the room. But Amara noticed he didn't go far. She could see a shadow in the hallway, just outside the partially open door. Chidi moved to close it fully, and Amara knew time was running out. "Mama, I need you to listen carefully," Amara said quietly, taking her mother's frail hands. They felt like bird bones, so fragile compared to the strong hands that taught her to sew her first stitch, to read her first balance sheet. "Do you remember what they did to you?" Mama D's eyes sharpened slightly. "I remember everything. The tea that night, waking up here, the needles, the confusion." Her gaze shifted to Chidi and hardened with a hatred that cut through the medication fog. "I remember my son-in-law telling me it was for my own good, that I was sick, that I was dying." "You're not dying, Mama." "They lied." "I know." The old woman's grip suddenly tightened on Amara's hands with surprising strength. "But they planned to make it true. Tonight, I heard them talking to the doctor yesterday. Once you sign the papers, once everything transfers, a peaceful death in my sleep, a tragic end to a confused old woman." Ngozi shifted uncomfortably near the door. "This is taking too long." "Shut up," Amara snapped, not looking away from her mother. "Mama, where's Grace? The nurse who was helping you?" Mama D's face crumpled. "They fired her 3 days ago, after they found the phone she'd given me. I don't know what they did to her, but she hasn't come back." A single tear tracked down her weathered cheek. "I'm sorry, daughter. I tried to warn you about everything, but I was too late, too slow." "No, Mama. You gave me time. You gave me truth." Amara pulled out her phone, not the burner, but her regular one. "And now we're going to use it." "What are you doing?" Chidi moved toward her, but Amara was faster. She hit record on her phone's camera and turned it toward her mother. "Mama Adaeze Okonkwo, can you state your full name and tell me where you are?" "I am Adaeze Chidima Okonkwo," her mother said, her voice growing stronger, clearer. "I am being held against my will at Serenity Vale Nursing Home in Abuja. My son-in-law, Chidi Okonkwo, and my daughter Ngozi orchestrated my kidnapping. They have been drugging me for 6 months while stealing my company and my fortune." "Turn that off," Chidi growled. "They faked my death." Mama Adaeze continued, looking directly into the camera. "They held a funeral while I was trapped here, confused and alone, and now they plan to kill me for real." Chidi lunged to the phone, but Amara had already tapped send, uploading the video to her cloud storage and sharing it directly with Funmi's email. The slap came so hard Amara saw stars. She crashed to the floor, her phone skittering across the tiles. Chidi grabbed it, saw the upload complete notification, and his face transformed into something monstrous. "You stupid woman," he seethed. "Do you have any idea what you just done?" "Yes," Amara said, tasting blood in her mouth. "I've just saved my mother's life." No. Chidi pulled out his own phone. You just killed her. He made a call. Dr. Nwosu, change of plans. Implement Protocol 7 immediately. Yes, I know it's early. Do it now. Amara's blood went cold. What's Protocol 7? A fatal medication error, Ngozi whispered, her face pale. An accidental overdose. No one's fault. Just a tragic mistake. Mama! Amara scrambled to her feet, but Chidi grabbed her, twisting her arm behind her back. Dr. Nwosu appeared in the doorway with a syringe. I'm sorry, he said, not sounding sorry at all. But Mrs. Adaeze has been very agitated. This will help her rest. That's not sedation. Mama Adaeze said calmly, her eyes on the syringe. That's potassium chloride. You're going to stop my heart. Mama, no. Amara fought against Chidi's grip, but he was too strong. Dr. Nwosu approached the wheelchair, preparing to inject directly into the foreport in Mama Adaeze's arm. And then the door exploded inward. Nigerian police. Nobody move. Inspector Mama Adaeze stormed in with her armed officers, weapons drawn. Behind them came 2 EFCC agents and, impossibly, Grace Okoro, the nurse, very much alive and pointing directly at Dr. Nwosu. That's him, Grace said. That's the man who tried to bribe me to kill Mrs. Adaeze. When I refused, he threatened my family. Chidi released Amara, raising his hand slowly. Inspector, I don't know what lies you've been told, but... Save it! Funmi cut him off. We've been conducting surveillance for 48 hours. We have recordings of your conversation with Dr. Nwosu yesterday. We have his text messages detailing Protocol 7. We have bank records showing payments from your offshore accounts to his personal account. And as of 10 minutes ago, we have video testimony from Mama Adaeze herself uploaded to our secure servers. She turned to Dr. Nwosu, dropped the syringe, and put your hands behind your head. The syringe clattered to the floor. Officers moved in, handcuffing Dr. Nwosu, then Chidi. Ngozi backed toward the window, her hands protective over her belly. I didn't know, she said desperately. I didn't know he was going to kill her. I thought we were just taking control of the business. You thought you'd get rich without consequences, Amara said coldly, crossing to her mother and kneeling beside her wheelchair. How did that work out for you, sister? An officer moved to handcuff Ngozi, but Funmi raised a hand. Get her a chair. She's pregnant. We'll take her statement here, then transport her separately. As Chidi was let out in handcuffs, he turned one last time to Amara. You think you've won? I have lawyers. I have money. I'll be out in days. No, Funmi said. You'll be charged with kidnapping, fraud, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and based on what our investigation into Chioma Nwankwo's death has uncovered in the last 24 hours, you'll likely face murder charges there too. The life insurance payout you received, we've frozen all of it. Every naira you touched in the last 15 years, we're tracing. The color drained from Chidi's face as the officers hauled him away. Amara turned to her mother, tears streaming down her face. Mama, I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have protected you. Hush, child. Mama Adaeze's hand, still trembling but growing steadier, cupped Amara's cheek. You did protect me. You were brave. You were smart. You were everything I raised you to be. Grace, Amara said, looking at the nurse. They said they fired you. I thought. They did fire me, Grace said with a small smile. But I called my brother. He's Sergeant Okoro, works with Inspector Adebayo's unit. When she contacted him about your mother's case, he brought me in as a witness. We've been gathering evidence, getting medical records, documenting everything. Your mother is going to be just fine, Mrs. Amara. We're transferring her to National Hospital tonight for proper evaluation and detox from all those drugs they gave her. Funmi approached, her expression softer now. Amara, we need your full statement. Everything you know about the financial fraud, the offshore accounts, all of it. But first, she glanced at Ngozi, who sat sobbing in a chair by the door. Is there anything you want to say to your sister? Amara looked at Ngozi, young, foolish, pregnant with a murderer's child. Despite everything, a tiny part of her felt pity. You chose this, Amara said quietly. You chose him over family, over truth, over love. That baby you're carrying deserves better than the life you were planning to build on our mother's grave. Ngozi's sobs intensified, but she said nothing. As medical staff rushed in to attend to Mama Adaeze, Amara stepped out into the hallway, her legs finally giving out. She slid down the wall, sitting on the cold linoleum floor, and let herself shake. Funmi sat down beside her. You did good, Amara, really good. I almost got her killed. No, Chidi and Ngozi almost got her killed. You saved her. Funmi paused. Though I have to ask, that video you sent me? That was incredibly risky. If we hadn't already been in position outside the facility, if we'd been even 5 minutes later... I know, Amara whispered, but I was out of options, out of time. Well, it worked, and now we have everything we need to put Chidi away for a very long time. Funmi stood, offering her hand. Come on, let's get you and your mother somewhere safe. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Recovering assets, building the case, preparing for trial. But tonight you both just need to rest. As they walked back into room 217, Amara saw her mother sitting up straighter, her eyes clearer than they'd been in months. The medical team was checking her vitals, adjusting her forward with real medication now. Medication meant to heal rather than destroy. Mama Adaeze held out her hand, and Amara took it, holding tight. We're going to rebuild, her mother said firmly. The company, our family, everything. But first, we're going to make sure justice is done. Not just for us, but for Chioma, for every woman that man has hurt. Yes, Mama, Amara said. Together. Outside the window, the Abuja sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. It felt like an ending, but Amara knew better. It was just the beginning. Can you believe that twist? Drop a like if you're celebrating Mama D's rescue. What do you think should happen to Ngozi and her baby? Comment your thoughts below, and please share this story with anyone who needs to hear about strong women fighting back. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the next chapter is going to deal with the aftermath, and you do not want to miss it. 3 months later, the Federal High Court in Abuja was packed to capacity. Amara sat in the front row beside her mother, both dressed in matching emerald green ankara, a deliberate choice, a statement of unity and strength. Mama Adaeze had gained back some weight, her eyes sharp and clear once again, her signature gelly wrapped high and proud on her head. The woman who had been written off as dead, then drugged into oblivion, now sat like a queen awaiting justice. Across the aisle, Chidi sat between 2 guards, his expensive suit replaced with prison-issued clothing. He'd aged 10 years and 3 months, his hair graying at the temples, his shoulders slumped. When his eyes met Amara's, she saw no remorse, only rage at being caught. Ngozi wasn't present. 7 months pregnant now, she'd been granted house arrest pending her own trial. The deal her lawyers had worked out, full testimony against Chidi in exchange for reduced charges, had fractured whatever remained of their conspiracy. All rise for the Honorable Justice Okonkwo. The bailiff began. Wait, a voice called from the back of the courtroom. I have new evidence to present. Everyone turned. A woman in her late 30s walked down the aisle, her movements hesitant but determined. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair natural, her face bearing old scars that spoke of violence survived. Who is that? Amara whispered to Funmi, who sat on her other side. Funmi's eyes widened. That's Chioma Nwankwo, Chidi's first wife. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Order! Justice Adewale banged his gavel. Order in this court. Chidi had gone absolutely white, staring at the woman approaching the witness stand as if seeing a ghost. You're dead, he whispered. You died. I saw. You saw what you wanted to see, Chioma said, her voice steady. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, my name is Chioma Nwankwo. 15 years ago, my husband attempted to murder me by cutting the brake lines on my car. The accident left me in a coma for 3 months and killed my unborn son. When I woke up, I learned that Chidi had collected 12 million naira in insurance money. Money he claimed was from my death and our child's death. The courtroom was absolutely silent now. But I survived, Chioma continued. Barely. And when I tried to report what he'd done, I was threatened. His lawyer, Barrister Okafor, told me if I came forward, I'd be charged with insurance fraud myself. That Chidi would destroy my family, ruin my name. I was young, scared, recovering from traumatic injuries. So I disappeared, changed my name, started over. Her voice cracked. I've lived in fear for 15 years. But when I saw the news reports about this case, about another woman he tried to kill, about Mama Adaeze drugged and imprisoned, I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. She pulled out a folder thick with documents. I have medical records from the accident. I have a mechanic's original report before it was altered, showing the brake lines were deliberately cut. I have recordings of Barrister Okafor's threats. And I'm ready to testify to everything Chidi Okonkwo is capable of. Amara felt her mother's hand grip hers tightly. Across the room, Chidi's lawyer was frantically whispering to him, but Chidi just stared at Chioma with pure hatred. Your Honor, the prosecutor stood, barely containing his excitement. The state would like to amend the charges to include the attempted murder of Chioma Nwankwo and the murder of her unborn child. Objection! Chidi's lawyer jumped up. This is completely improper procedure. Overruled, Justice Adewale said firmly. Mrs. Nwankwo, please take the stand. You'll be sworn in and give your testimony. This court takes allegations of the severity extremely seriously. As Chioma was sworn in, Amara watched Chidi's facade finally crack. He lunged toward the witness stand, but the guards restrained him. You ruined my life, he shouted. I could have been somebody. I could have built an empire. But you wanted to keep working, keep your independence, keep emasculating me with your educated friends and your career ambitions. That's enough, the judge ordered as guards forced Chidi back into his seat. But the damage was done. The entire courtroom had heard his confession, his twisted justification for trying to murder his pregnant wife because she'd wanted a career. Chioma's testimony lasted 2 hours. She detailed the abuse, psychological, financial, and finally physical. She described the night she confronted Chidi about his gambling debts, his failing business ventures, how he'd smiled and told her not to worry, that he'd handle everything. How the next morning, her brakes had failed on the Enugu hillside. I remember tumbling, she said softly, tears streaming down her scarred face. The car rolling, glass shattering, and then nothing for 3 months. When I woke up, they told me my son was gone, that I'd almost died, that my husband had buried an empty casket and collected life insurance money while I was fighting for my life in ICU under a Jane Doe admission. She looked directly at Chidi. You stole everything from me. My child, my identity. 15 years of my life spent hiding, looking over my shoulder. But you don't get to steal anything else. Not from me. Not from Mama Adaeze. Not from Amara. This ends today. The prosecutor called additional witnesses. The mechanic who'd been paid to alter his report. A former gambling associate who testified about Chidi's massive debts 15 years ago. A banker who confirmed the insurance payout had been used as seed money for investments in the textile industry. Investments that had led him to Mama Adaeze. He targeted your mother. Funmi explained quietly to Amara during a recess. The whole romance, the marriage to you, it was calculated. He researched successful businesswomen, found Mama Adaeze at that conference, and engineered the whole relationship. You were just the key to the kingdom. Amara had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed still hurt. 12 years of marriage. All of it a lie. All of it a long con. When court resumed, the prosecutor called Ngozi via video link from her house arrest. She appeared on the screen, heavily pregnant, her face swollen from crying. The confident, defiant woman who'd taunted Amara in the penthouse was gone, replaced by someone broken and desperate. Miss Ngozi Adaeze, the prosecutor began, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant. I loved him, Ngozi said, her voice barely audible. Or I thought I did. He made me feel special, chosen. He said Amara didn't appreciate him, that he was trapped in a loveless marriage. He said, she paused, fresh tears falling. He said we would build something better together. That mama was too old-fashioned, too controlling, that if we could just get the resources, we could modernize the company, make it international. And you believe him? Yes. I was stupid, jealous. I'd always lived in Amara's shadow, the perfect daughter, the successful one. And here was this charming man offering me everything I'd ever wanted. She looked directly at the camera. I'm not innocent. I helped him. I encouraged the plan. But I swear on my unborn child, I never knew he'd try to kill his first wife. I never knew about Chioma. And when I realized he was planning to kill Mama for real, not just keep her confused and controlled, I was horrified. Yet you didn't try to stop him, the prosecutor pressed. I was scared, Ngozi whispered. By then I was pregnant, dependent on him. He'd isolated me from everyone, even Amara. I felt trapped. And I told myself that once the baby came, once we had the money, I could leave him, start over. She laughed bitterly. I was such a fool. Tell the court about the insurance policy on Amara's life. Ngozi's face crumpled. He took it out 3 months before everything happened. 500 million naira. He told me it was just standard financial planning for wealthy couples. But I found emails on his laptop. Plans. Timing. He was going to stage an accident for Amara right after Mama died. Really died. Make it look like grief-induced suicide, or maybe a home invasion gone wrong. She looked directly at where Amara sat in the courtroom, though she couldn't see her through the screen. Sister, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. I should have stopped him. I was a coward. Do you believe Chidi Okonkwo is capable of murder? The prosecutor asked. Yes, Ngozi said without hesitation. I believe he's killed before. I believe he would have killed again. And I believe the only reason I'm still alive is because I'm carrying his child, his heir. Once this baby is born. She trailed off, the implication clear. After Ngozi's testimony, the prosecutor rested his case. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, witness testimony, medical documents, recorded threats, everything. Chidi's lawyer tried to mount defense, arguing that the evidence was circumstantial, that Chioma's testimony was unreliable after 15 years, that Ngozi was a scorned woman seeking revenge. But it was weak, and everyone in the courtroom knew it. When the judge called for closing arguments, Amara felt her mother's hand tighten on hers again. Whatever happens, Mama Adaeze whispered, we've already won. We're alive. We're together. And the truth is finally out. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, members of the jury, this case is about a pattern of violence against women, about a man who has spent his entire adult life manipulating, abusing, and attempting to murder the women who trusted him. Chioma Nwankwo trusted him with her love. He tried to kill her and their unborn child. Mama Adaeze Okonkwo trusted him with her business. He drugged her and stole her empire. Amara Okonkwo trusted him with her heart. He betrayed her with her own sister and planned her murder. This man is dangerous. He is calculating, and he will do it again if given the chance. He paused, looking each juror in the eye. But today, you have the power to stop him. Today, you have the power to tell every woman in Nigeria that justice exists, that powerful men cannot simply discard us, drug us, or destroy us when we become inconvenient. Today, you have the power to say enough. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, Amara could barely breathe. On the charge of kidnapping, guilty. Chidi's face remained expressionless. On the charge of fraud, guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of Mama Adaeze Okonkwo, guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of Chioma Nwankwo, guilty. On the charge of murder of baby Nwankwo, unborn child, guilty. For each guilty verdict, Amara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Beside her, Chioma wept quietly. In the video screen, Ngozi had her head in her hands. When the judge sentenced Chidi to 45 years in prison with no possibility of parole, Chidi finally reacted. You can't do this, he screamed. I'm a businessman. I employ people. I contribute to the economy. You're destroying everything over these ungrateful women. The guards dragged him out, still screaming, still raging. Justice Adewale turned to Mama Adaeze. Mrs. Okonkwo, on behalf of this court, I apologize for the failure of systems that should have protected you. I'm ordering a full investigation into the Serenity Vale nursing home and Dr. Nwosu's practices. No one should suffer what you endured. Mama Adaeze stood, regal despite everything she'd been through. Thank you, Your Honor, but I don't want just an investigation. I want reform. I want laws protecting elderly Nigerians from predatory relatives. I want accountability for medical professionals who participate in elder abuse. And I want my story, our stories, to warn every woman that wealth and status don't protect you from domestic violence. Only vigilance and community can do that. The courtroom erupted in applause. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Amara held her mother's arm as they made their way through the crowd toward the waiting car. Mrs. Okonkwo, how do you feel about the verdict? Amara, will you reconcile with your sister? Mama Adaeze, what's next for the Okonkwo empire? Mama Adaeze stopped, turning to face the cameras. Amara stood beside her, united. What's next? Mama Adaeze's voice rang out clear and strong. Justice is next. Healing is next. And women supporting women is next. My daughter saved my life. Nurse Grace risked hers to help me. Inspector Adebayo and her team fought for truth. And Chioma, brave, strong Chioma, came forward after 15 years of hiding to make sure no other woman suffers at that man's hands. She paused, her eyes fierce. That is the power of women who refuse to be silenced. That is the future I'm investing in. The Okonkwo Company will continue, stronger than ever, and we will use our resources to support organizations fighting domestic violence, elder abuse, and economic exploitation of women. Chidi Okonkwo thought he could bury us. Instead, we buried him. The crowd erupted again, cheering. As they drove away, Amara finally allowed herself to breathe fully for the first time in months. Mama, what about Ngozi? She asked quietly. What happens to her now? Mama Adaeze was silent for a long moment. That's up to you, daughter. She betrayed us both, but she's still your sister, still my child, and that baby she's carrying is innocent. I don't know if I can forgive her. I'm not asking you to. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Mama Adaeze took Amara's hand. But we can choose not to abandon her completely. We can make sure that baby has a chance at a better life than the one Chidi would have given it. That's not forgiveness. That's just not becoming the monsters they try to make us. Amara looked out the window at the passing Abuja streets, thinking about everything that had been lost and everything that remained. Okay, Mama, she finally said, but on our terms, with boundaries, with therapy, and if she ever endangers his family again, then we walk away. Mama Adaeze finished, permanently. Agreed. But as they pulled up the hotel where they were staying during the trial, Amara's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The trial is over, but the real danger is just beginning. Chidi has friends, powerful friends, people who benefited from the money he stole, people who don't want digging deeper into offshore accounts and corporate fraud. Watch your back, both of you. Amara showed the message to her mother, her newfound peace evaporating. Mama Adaeze read it, her expression hardening. Forward that to Inspector Adebayo immediately. Mama, what if this never ends? What if... Then we keep fighting, her mother interrupted firmly. That's what Okonkwo women do. We fight, we survive, and we protect what's ours. Wow, justice served, but is it really over? Smash that like button if you're proud of Mama Adaeze and Amara. What do you think that threatening text means? Comment your theories below. Share this with anyone who needs to see justice prevail. And subscribe with notifications on because the final chapter is going to reveal who's behind that threat and bring this story to its explosive conclusion. The explosion happened at 3:42 a.m. Amara jolted awake in her hotel room to the sound of shattering glass and screaming. Smoke alarms wailed through corridors. She stumbled out of bed, her mind foggy with sleep and panic, throwing on a robe and rushing to the door. Mama, she screamed, running barefoot down the hallway to her mother's room. The door was already open. Mama Adaeze stood in the doorway in her nightgown, remarkably calm despite the chaos. Inspector Fummy was beside her, weapon drawn, scanning the corridor. It was a parking garage. Fummy said tersely, "Car bomb. Your Mercedes, Amara, the one registered in your name." Amara's legs nearly gave out. "If we'd been leaving early for the airport like we planned, you'd both be dead," Fummy finished, "which means someone knew your schedule. Someone close." Hotel security rushed them to a secure conference room on the ground floor, while firefighters dealt with the blaze. Within 20 minutes, EFCC agents swarmed the building, cordoning off the scene, questioning guests, reviewing security footage. Amara sat beside her mother, both wrapped in hotel blankets, watching the organized chaos unfold. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "The text you received yesterday," Fummy said, pulling up a chair. "We traced it. It came from a burner phone, but the cell tower puts it within 5 kilometers of the federal high court. Someone was there, watching the verdict. And Amara, there's more." She pulled out her tablet, showing them bank records. "In the last 3 months, we've been following the money trail from Chidi's offshore accounts. He wasn't working alone. There's a network, businessmen, politicians, even a few judges, all involved in a massive money laundering scheme. The Okonkwo company was just one target. There are at least 15 other businesses they've infiltrated, elderly owners sidelined or eliminated, assets stripped." Mama D's eyes blazed with fury. "Ooh, that's the problem. The accounts are buried under shell corporations. But we found one name that keeps appearing. Senator Obi Okafor." Amara's blood ran cold. "Okafor?" "As in Barrister Okafor. His brother," Fummy confirmed. "A senator in the National Assembly. Powerful connections. Serious resources. And based on encrypted communications we've decoded, he's not happy about Chidi's arrest. The trial exposed too much. Created too many questions about offshore accounts and suddenly wealthy businessmen. So he tried to kill us," Amara said flatly. "We believe so, but we can't prove it. Yet." Fummy leaned forward. "Which is why I need to ask you both something difficult. Would you be willing to help us set a trap?" 2 days later, Mama Adaeze held a press conference at the rebuilt Okonkwo Company headquarters in Lagos. Amara stood beside her, both women dressed in powerful white suits, their faces resolute. Following the conviction of Chidi Okonkwo, Mama Adaeze announced to the packed room of journalists, "I am announcing the full audit of all company finances. We will be cooperating with the EFCC to trace every naira that was stolen and identify every person who participated in this fraud. I don't care how powerful they are, how connected they are, or what positions they hold. Justice will be served." She paused, looking directly at the cameras. "To those who think violence and intimidation will silence us, you're wrong. The car bomb in Abuja only strengthened my resolve. I am not afraid. My daughter is not afraid. And we will not stop until every conspirator is exposed." It was a declaration of war. That evening, Amara sat in her mother's office, now reinforced with security cameras, bulletproof windows, and armed guards at every entrance. Her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She let it ring once, twice, then answered. "Hello, Mrs. Okonkwo." The voice was cultured, educated, with the unmistakable authority of someone used to being obeyed. "My name is Senator Obi Okafor. I believe we should talk." Amara hit the button that activated the recording device Fummy had installed. "Talk about what? How you tried to murder my mother and me?" A dry chuckle. "I see Chidi married you for your directness. That's admirable, but also dangerous. You're making enemies, Mrs. Okonkwo. Powerful enemies. People who can make you disappear much more effectively than your foolish husband ever could. Is that a threat?" "It's a reality check." Chidi was sloppy, emotional, driven by greed and ego. But there are others in our organization who are much more precise. The car bomb was a warning. Next time, there won't be a next time. Amara forced her voice to stay steady. "What do you want?" "Your silence. Your mother's silence. Drop the expanded investigation. Accept that Chidi was a lone wolf, motivated by personal greed. take your inheritance, and disappear. We'll even sweeten the deal. 50 million naira. Untraceable. Tax-free. Considerate compensation for your troubles. And if I refuse, then I'm afraid accidents will continue to happen. To you, to your mother, perhaps even to that tragic sister of yours and her innocent baby. Children are so vulnerable, Mrs. Okonkwo. It would be a shame if anything happened to your future niece or nephew. White-hot rage flooded through Amara. You touch that baby. Then we have an understanding. You have 48 hours to decide. Choose wisely. The line went dead. Amara sat there, trembling with fury, until her mother entered the office with Funmi close behind. We got it, Funmi said triumphantly. Every word. Direct threats against you and your family. Admission of the car bombing. With this recording and the evidence we've been building, we can move against him. When Mama Adaeze demanded, tonight, we've had surveillance on him for days. We know he's meeting with 3 other conspirators at his estate in Banana Island, another senator, a bank CEO, and a Supreme Court justice. Funmi's expression was grim. This goes higher than we thought. Mama Adaeze, if we move against them, we're taking on some of the most powerful people in Nigeria. Then we'd better do it right. Mama Adaeze said firmly, what do you need from us? Stay here. Stay safe. Let us handle this. Funmi squeezed Amara's shoulder. You've done enough. You've been brave enough. Now let the law finish this. But as Funmi left to coordinate the raid, Amara's phone buzzed again. A text from Ngozi. Sister, I'm scared. Someone's outside the house. The security guard isn't answering. Please, I know you hate me, but the baby... Amara showed the message to her mother, panic rising in her chest. It's a trap. It has to be. Or she's genuinely in danger. Mama Adaeze countered. Okafor threatened her. We can't just... We call Funmi. She's coordinating a raid on a senator's estate. By the time she redirects resources, Ngozi could be dead. Amara stared at her mother. You want us to go? I want us to save my grandchild. Mama Adaeze said quietly. Whatever Ngozi did, that baby is innocent. Can you live with yourself if something happens? 20 minutes later, Amara's new car pulled up to a modest house in Lekki, where Ngozi was under house arrest. The security guard's booth was empty, the gate hanging open. This is a terrible idea, Amara muttered, but she was already out of the car, her mother beside her. The front door was unlocked. Inside, they found Ngozi on the floor of the living room. In labor, her face contorted with pain. Blood soaked the carpet beneath her. Amara, she gasped, the baby's coming. Something's wrong. There's so much blood. Mama Adaeze dropped to her knees beside her younger daughter, checking her pulse, her breathing. Call an ambulance. Now. As Amara fumbled for her phone, she heard footsteps behind them. I'm afraid an ambulance won't be necessary. She spun around to see Barrister Okafor standing in the doorway with a gun. His hands shook. His face was pale, but the weapon was pointed directly at them. I'm sorry, he said, and he actually sounded it. My brother, the senator, he said if I didn't fix this, if I didn't eliminate the witnesses, he'd expose everything. My career, my reputation, everything I built. I can't go to prison. I can't. So you'll murder 3 women and an unborn child? Mama Adaeze's voice was ice. It's not murder if I make it look like Ngozi went into labor. You both came to help, and there was a tragic home invasion. Armed robbers are so common in Lagos. His finger tightened on the trigger. I'm sorry. I really am. But you should have taken the money and stayed quiet. The gunshot was deafening in the small room. But it wasn't Okafor who fired. The lawyer crumpled to the ground, a red stain spreading across his chest. Behind him stood Grace Okoro, the nurse, holding the security guard's gun with steady hands. I was doing my rounds, Grace said calmly, lowering the weapon, checking on Ngozi like I promised court I would. Heard the commotion. She stepped over Okafor's body and knelt beside Ngozi. Now let's save this baby. The ambulance arrived 7 minutes later, followed closely by police and Inspector Funmi, who'd been alerted by Amara's frantic call. Ngozi was rushed to surgery. The baby, a girl, was delivered via emergency C-section at 8 months. Premature but alive, fighting, just like her aunt and grandmother. Barrister Okafor survived his gunshot wound and was arrested in his hospital bed. With his testimony, combined with the evidence in the raid on Senator Okafor's estate, the entire conspiracy unraveled. 3 senators, 2 judges, a bank CEO, and 7 business executives were arrested over the following weeks. The media called it the biggest corruption scandal in Nigeria's modern history. Amara called it justice. 6 months later, Amara stood in the nursery of her mother's renovated Lagos mansion, holding her niece. Baby Adaeze, named after her grandmother, gurgled contentedly, her tiny fist wrapped around Amara's finger. Ngozi sat in the rocking chair nearby, watching them with an expression Amara couldn't quite read. Gratitude? Shame? Hope? They'd been in family therapy for 4 months now. It was slow, painful work. Some days Amara could barely look at her sister. Other days, she saw glimpses of the girl Ngozi used to be before jealousy and Chidi's manipulation had poisoned her. "Thank you," Ngozi said quietly, "for not letting her grow up without family. I know I don't deserve." "You're right, you don't," Amara interrupted, but her voice was gentler than it had been. "But she does, and Mama does, so we're trying. That's all I can promise right now. We're trying." Ngozi nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. Mama Adaeze entered the nursery, resplendent in a gold Ankara dress, her energy fully restored. "Ladies, we have company. Chioma's here." They moved to the sitting room where Chioma Nwankwo waited, looking healthier and happier than Amara had ever seen her. Beside her stood a man about her age, his hand protectively at the small of her back. "Amara, Mama Adaeze, this is Daniel." Chioma introduced her with a shy smile. "My partner. We've been together for 5 years. He's the one who encouraged me to come forward, to stop hiding." "Thank you," Mama Adaeze said, embracing Daniel. "Thank you for giving her the strength to help us." They sat together, this unexpected family forged by shared trauma and survival, and talked about the future. Chioma was starting a foundation for domestic violence survivors. Mama Adaeze was implementing elder protection policies at the Okonkwo Company and funding similar initiatives across Nigeria. Grace had been promoted to nursing director at the National Hospital, specializing in elder care. And Amara? She'd taken over as CEO of the Okonkwo Company, determined to rebuild it as something her mother could be proud of, ethical, transparent, and committed to empowering women in business. "You know," Chioma said as evening fell, and they shared a meal together, "Chidi thought he could destroy us, thought he could erase us, silence us, make us disappear. But look at us now." She raised her glass of wine. The others followed with their drinks, wine, juice, water. "To the women he tried to bury," Chioma said, "not knowing we were seeds. To the women who refused to stay buried." Mama Adaeze amended. "To justice," Amara added. "To family," Ngozi whispered, her voice breaking. "The ones we're born into and the ones we choose. To the future," Grace concluded, "and all the women we're fighting for." Their glasses clinked together, a sound like a bell, like a promise, like a battle cry. Outside the window, Lagos glittered with possibility. Somewhere in a maximum security prison, Chidi Okonkwo sat in a cell, his empire turned to ashes, his name synonymous with betrayal and violence. But in this room, surrounded by the women he'd tried to destroy, life continued. Stronger, fiercer, unbreakable. Baby Adaeze began to cry, and Amara stood to retrieve her. As she lifted her niece, the baby's cries quieted, and she looked up at Amara with wide, curious eyes. "You're going to grow up in a different world," Amara whispered to her. "A world where your grandmother and your aunt and all these incredible women fought to make sure you be safe, protected, free to become whoever you want to be." Mama Adaeze came to stand beside them, her hand on Amara's shoulder, looking at her granddaughter with fierce love. "And you'll know their names," Mama Adaeze said softly. "You'll know every woman who bled, so you could bloom. That's the inheritance we're giving you, little one." Not just money or companies or buildings, but strength, resilience, and the absolute certainty that no man, no matter how charming, how powerful, how manipulative, can ever diminish a woman who knows her worth. The baby cooed as if in agreement, and in that moment, with the warm Lagos night embracing them and the future stretching out full of possibility and promise, Amara finally allowed herself to believe it was over. The nightmare had ended, the healing had begun, and the Okonkwo women, all of them, would rise again. The end. What an incredible journey. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Did Amara and Mama Adaeze get the justice they deserved? Did Ngozi earn a second chance? Comment your final thoughts below. Share this powerful story of betrayal, revenge, and redemption with everyone you know. And subscribe to African Echoes for more gripping African stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Turn on all notifications so you never miss our next dramatic tale. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter what storms you face, you have the strength to survive and thrive. Until next time, stay strong, stay empowered, and keep fighting for justice.